Good morning, friends. Coach Bob with you here today, and today we are rolling out of Brandon, Mississippi, and our final stop today is going to be my old stomping ground, Tallahassee, Florida. If you're wondering why things aren't starting out like they normally do, well, we wanted to have a little quiet time and sweet time with our friends as we said goodbye to them and just appreciate the amount of time that we had with them at their beautiful home. I can't say thank you enough to Todd and Shannon. They are the ultimate host and hostess, and we are always great to spend time with good friends. So today we're leaving Brandon, like I said, and we're going to Tallahassee. Our first stop is going to be Hattiesburg. The rest of the trip we're going to be kind of playing it loose based on traffic and conditions and that sort of thing. We have been doing a little research. We might run into a few obstacles on the way. We will allow them to present themselves as the day unfolds. So with that being said, let's just kind of enjoy the greenery here for a moment, and we will see you in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which should be about 110 miles down the road. Hello friends, just finished gassing up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Gas here, premium, $1.91, man. $1.91, are you kidding me? Man, I tell you, it's enough to make you want to move to Hattiesburg. We had such a great time with our friends, Todd and Shannon. Hope you enjoyed seeing them on the boat and all that stuff. Man, I just figured I'd share something that's really special to me with you. They're just such an integral part of my life. I just want to, if they're watching this video, as with the video yesterday, I want to tell them thank you for being my friend, and I love you guys. They really are amazing people. So don't want to get off too much on all that, but check this out. Haha, love it. Oh yeah, he's pulling a big old trailer, man. It's a camper. So I'll walk over here and talk to this guy. So what year is the bike, man?
2014.
Nice. Excellent. He built the trailer. That's cool, huh? I love it. That is awesome. Hey, Coach Vic, he built this trailer.
That's pretty cool. It's really nice. I enjoy it. Sleep in it? Yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
So I show it to you.
Yeah, man.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
That is a cool. So I guess you travel a lot?
This is my first tour rig. I just built it.
That is pretty cool, I must say.
And then I got my storage back here.
Oh, check it out. Wow. Ample storage, too.
Ample storage.
Oh my goodness.
Power inverter, solar on panel. We still got a few things to work on. But it's hey, it's beautiful. I love it.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome.
Doesn't weigh anything. It might weigh 300 pounds. It's a jet ski boat, a jet ski trailer.
Okay.
And I put it together. Built it. Years ago, I used to work at a mobile home factory too.
Right.
So I had a pretty good bit of knowledge about it. I wanted to do the door up, but
Right.
I would need these hydraulics to help me, and they were quite expensive. I
Yeah.
said I just do sideways.
Heck yeah, man.
It come out pretty decent.
That's great, man. That is great.
I got lights in it, got fan in it. You can't be over 6 foot tall if you already got 6 The bed itself is 6 foot.
Well, that is so cool, man.
Y'all have a seat.
All right, man. So there you have it, a fellow trike guy pulling a trailer. Very nice. Anyway, we're in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Our next stop's going to be somewhere in Alabama on the other side of Mobile. Not too bad. Check my mileage before we get rolling. It's about 100 miles, though.
Oh, our next stop is 100 miles?
No, this was 100
Oh,
miles.
yeah.
We had to go a little slow at the beginning because we were a lot of little state roads and country roads.
Yeah, but I like the back roads.
But Coach Vic and I had some good conversation and some just some nice thought. It's been a beautiful morning. So ready to hit this next little section here, Mama?
Yeah, where we going?
Huh?
Where we going? I forgot.
Somewhere east of Mobile.
Oh, that's right. All right, well, we're on our last day.
Yep. Well, tomorrow we close the
We're
loop.
going to go home, sleep, and then wake up in the morning and go to Jacksonville and back.
We close the loop. That way we get
That
to
way, like I said, I went from west to east.
twice. Went east to west.
From west to east.
It's not a bad ride. It's been actually nice. Hate to see it end.
I do too. Well, there's always the next trip.
I'm already planning our next trip.
She's thinking north to south crossing next time. Which means we got to go all the way down to Key West to start.
No, we're going to go from...
Southernmost point to northernmost?
Oh.
No! I got her! I got her! All right,
No
we're going to
one-
roll.
All right.
You know, it's funny, we're out of Hattiesburg now. Things are heating up. You know, we left a little bit later than we normally do, and the heat is starting, but although it's in the 90s, and when you're sitting still, it can feel awfully wet, muggy, and nasty. But when you're moving, it feels pretty good. And that's one thing I will say, there is a difference in that humid type of heat where it's wet. I do find that due to the fact that your body does, we'll just say, holds more moisture. Your shirt's wet with perspiration, that you do feel a little cooler when you ride. At least that's my experience. That's how I feel when I ride. If you differ with that opinion and think that you feel cooler in a dry climate, not having that perspiration on your body, kind of leave an explanation down there in the bottom for folks who might be curious. What I do want to do, though, is give people as much information as they can when dealing with heat, whether it be in the southeast where humidity is high versus the west where the humidity is dry. So anything you would like to add down there in the bottom in the comment section, please feel free to do so. This is one of those things where we are in this together, and as we tour, we want to be safe and we want to help out our fellow riders. Another question that I was asked here recently was on the mileage. What is our total mileage? So last night, back to our room at Shannon and Todd's house, I pulled some numbers and did a little math. Yesterday was not a bad day. We had a total of 421.9 miles yesterday, and we had estimated 432. So yesterday was a little shorter than we thought it was going to be, which means that today will be a little longer, and we had estimated today being 444 miles. So we'll be a little above that. The distance that I went when I went down to the ocean and back, out in California, was 8.1 miles each way for a total of 16.2 miles. So if you look at our total for the trip back, yesterday we were at 2,074. That's for the trip back. Now, our trip out there was 2,188.9, which gives us a total of 4,263.8 miles, plus that 16.2 where I went to the ocean, and that gives us a total of 4,280 miles, which means that after today and tomorrow, we will have probably close to 100 miles over 5,000. So I'm thinking it's going to be around that 5,100 mark, give or take a mile or two, when we're completely finished. But as of last night, when we arrived in Brandon, Mississippi, our total miles was 4,280.0 miles. That's where we were. So there's the mileage question. This part of Mississippi, things start looking a little more wet, we'll say, which means we are getting close to the next state, which is Alabama. I love this part of the state. It's rich and green, and there's a lot of water, and it's just, the roads are smooth. We've made this trip over here to Hattiesburg in many ways. I used to do a triathlon over here. I believe it was called the Hub City Hustle. But all these little bridges over these little bogs and swamps and creeks and rivers and lakes. It's just beautiful over here. We know what that is. Ha ha, there it is right up there, y'all. Welcome to Alabama. So without further ado, let's just sit back here for a minute and enjoy Alabama. And the first city that we're going to come to, and we're just going to roll right in there, is the beautiful city of Mobile. Enjoy Mobile, Alabama. All right, so we're just east of Mobile, around Daphne, Alabama. Anyway, apparently they got a big
Mess on I-10.
mess on I-10 checkpoint, so we're gonna go south of I-10 and grab Highway 90 and see if we can't cut across. They say they've got I-10 backed up 20 miles. 20 miles.
COVID check.
If you're from the state, they let you come through, but you have to wait in the 20-mile line. So don't plan on doing that in 110 degree heat. No. I would probably have a heat stroke and die. They'd have a bigger problem than me having a virus.
Got a couple of ice for the ride.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
It's been a great ride.
So-
Stay at every trip.
So next
Stay at every checkpoint.
next stop is Ponce de Leon, Florida. About
Ponce de
130
Leon.
miles. It was going to be 120, but being we have to drive 10 miles south to get around this, we're going to have to add a little distance to it. Anyway, there ain't no use in complaining, is there?
No complaint allowed on this trip.
All right, so let's do this.
Let's do it.
We were grateful to have gotten the information at the gas station about this roadblock, but as with everything, things never turn out quite like you planned, and a lot of other people had the same idea we had. And also, there's this thing called unintended consequence, where things bottleneck and people get careless, and in the heat people get frustrated, and when that happens, they make mistakes. Let's hope that all of the riders in that little accident are okay, because this road is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful, but it's not a good place to get hit. I guess no place is a good place to get hit. So another question that was asked me here recently via email was, what is the impact of wind on the performance of the Spyder? Now, I used to think that if you were in the Midwest that the wind was going to be, shall we say, a little more effective or arbitrarily effective on the Spyder. But that's not necessarily the case, and let me clarify what I mean by that. When you drive down the road in the parts of the country where we are, we do have brutal wind. The scary thing about the wind here, it comes out of nowhere. You can't really plan on it, and when it pops you hard. So if you're driving down a coastal highway or in an area where there are a lot of trees and all of a sudden you hit an open area, that wind will come rushing through and it will go from, it's literally wind shear. It just all of a sudden comes from nowhere and pushes you right across the road. And so you learn when you're riding in these parts of the country to be aware of that and to be prepared for it, because when it happens, it can scare the heck out of you. Here we are, state of Florida, baby. Close to home now. Anyway, so the wind. So the wind in Florida can be kind of crazy at times. Now, when you're in Oklahoma, when you're in the panhandle of Texas, the open areas, the open plains of New Mexico and areas like that, the wind is more consistent. And honestly, although the wind is bad, and it can be bad when it's off your side, it doesn't really scare me. It doesn't spook me like the wind can here, because it's there all the time, and so you can kind of anticipate what it's going to do. Now, when you have the wind right off your nose, that's a different story, because that all day, if you have the wind, like we had it a couple of days where the wind was kind of slightly right but off our nose, and man, you would get pounded all day long. And although you have a windshield and it does a great job, it still buffets you pretty bad, and you can feel it holding the Spyder back. Now, the profile of the Spyder is not really massive, but it certainly isn't what I would call streamline either. From the front, that big windscreen, when you have it up, it's providing a lot of wind resistance. And I know it's designed to push that wind over the top of your head, but trust me when I tell you, when you have a stout headwind, you'll feel it and you'll understand how much resistance it adds. To the side, it's there and it can push you, but not like a motorcycle. I think that when you start getting into motorcycle land, especially if you're on a bike, a big touring bike, that large profile, I would say that the wind affects you more on that than it does on this. Certainly as we cross a bridge like this and the wind opens up and it starts buffeting you pretty hard, you'll feel it and it'll wiggle you around a little bit, but you always feel stable and planted. So there's the wind thing, and it's real, but it's not a real problem. So nothing for you to worry about. So let's cross this beautiful bay in the Pensacola area, and I believe we're going to be pulling over and getting a little gas. Next stop, DeFuniak Springs. All right, we are in Ponce de Leon, Florida. We are 116 miles from our home.
Woohoo!
So we're getting pretty close. It's been about 96 degrees for the last few hours. Pretty warm.
Yeah, it got hot again, but it's not as bad. But yeah, we're good.
Doing fine. You know, once you've done 112, 96 is nothing.
96 is nothing.
Just met the nicest guy. They call him Buttercup, man. He's one of the leathernecks, man. Super great guy.
And we were just talking about a horse that I had as a child named Buttercup.
And all of a sudden we're saying the word Buttercup.
An hour later we meet a guy named Buttercup.
That was so funny. So anyway, wonderful guy, super intelligent, man. Talked about motorcycles and seats and life, and just wonderful guy. Rode up on a Harley, man, beautiful machine. It was just, I said, brother, you look like you had been in the sun. And he's coming back from Mississippi today as well.
Wow.
And he got stuck in that checkpoint, and he sat there in the sun cooking for 45 minutes.
Oh.
So no airflow, just sitting over a boiling machine for almost an hour in 96 degree ambient heat. So he was suffering. So anyway, God bless you, brother. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this thing in the wind.
We're gonna head to Tallahassee and
116 miles.
enjoy our night at home like a hotel. and then go to Jacksonville tomorrow morning, ride there, go to the East Coast to the beach, and then come on back. So like I said, we went from Pacific to Atlantic.
Twice. Once in one direction, once in the other. We're closing the loop tomorrow.
Wow.
All right.
It's almost over. So as we grab I-10 for the last leg of a trip of a lifetime, it has been an absolute joy making this trip with Coach Vic. I can't recall a time in our relationship where we have been closer than we are right now. The common goals that we have shared on this trip across this country have made us pull together, and through that, it has drawn us closer together. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So make sure you get your spouse in here and share this little section with her, because it is important. This is something that, again, as we were talking about unexpected outcomes, we did not expect this trip to make us closer. We didn't expect it to make us get along better, to make us laugh louder, and but it has. It's done those things for us, and we are eternally grateful. So remember, when you're out on the road with that riding partner, that you want to take care of each other and look out for each other all the time. Another question on the performance of the CanAm that's come up with great regularity has been in emails and even a few in the comment section, was the suspension of the Spyder. Now, I mentioned yesterday that we hit something pretty hard in the road. I was concerned that I might have even broken a wheel. I was thinking that the rim may have had a fracture in it, and that we were going to have to order a wheel for it and stay at Todd and Shannon's for a few days. Come to find out, I did a thorough search of the wheel, or thorough inspection of the wheel with a wet cloth. Looked over everything. I could find no damage. I couldn't find anything out of alignment, anything not loose. So the rear suspension looked perfect. So it can take quite a blow and be okay. Now, the overall drive of it, how does it feel when you're doing long days? And sometimes the pavement was really, really rough. Sometimes you hit big giant potholes. Sometimes you hit debris in the road that you can't avoid. So how does the Spyder handle all of that? Well, I can tell you, after 4,280.0 miles, I have zero complaints about the Spyder's handling. When I first got the Spyder, it was extremely sensitive, and when I would just barely touch the handlebars, I was bobbing and weaving everywhere. It was me. It wasn't the machine. It was me. So if you test ride a Spyder, or if you buy a Spyder, that initial feeling when you're doing 70 miles an hour down the interstate and you go, man, I am all over the road. You probably are. It's okay. Just carefully and gradually build your speed up. Your hand sensitivity to that handlebar is going to change, and you're going to be able to ride that thing and it be smooth and you not oversteer. And that's what you're doing, you're oversteering. The steering is quite sensitive on the Spyder. You have a large patch of rubber on the road because you have two tires up front. For those of us who come from the two-wheeled world, or even the traditional trike world, you have a very small surface patch of rubber on the road, and that does change things. Telescopically, when a fork works, as it is rebounding and everything, you're looking at a straight line, one wheel. It really is, it's a more simple system. For me, I was also a Jeep enthusiast for a long, long time. I understood a lot about how the front suspension, certainly a solid front suspension, can be quite messy, and we have something in Jeep world we call death wobble, but that's a story for another time. The front wheels, you can get that kind of bounce back and forth, that wobble, that oscillation that you can get left to right kind of thing. it's there. That said, you can ride this thing across the country without making any modifications. And that is not saying that you are like a super professional rider. That's saying you're just a normal rider, just like me, and you can do it. Can the suspension be improved? Yes, it can. The Baja Ron sway bar and those sorts of things, it can be better. What you have is acceptable, and it will work. I'm telling you, we hit some really rough road in East Texas, and we hit some really rough road in New Mexico, and it handled it. It handled it. Now, I will tell you, and you know this, I've thrown some water bottles, so I'm not going to tell you that it's always silky smooth. It ain't like a buttermilk biscuit up there. You hit something, you know it. But it's stable. It holds a line, and it's safe. And that's what matters to me. So I don't want you to think that you're getting in like a 911 Carrera or you're on a Ducati Panigale or something, that you're just going to, be weaving through traffic like you're on a racing machine. It's not how it's going to be. But if you're looking for a touring machine that can hold a line, ride relatively smooth, and if you just develop that steering sensitivity that you have to develop, you're going to be absolutely fine touring on this thing anywhere you want to go. Well, folks, we are getting off of the interstate and we are heading to our house. That is the craziest thing in the world, man. We have crossed the continent. We put our feet in the Pacific Ocean and we're going to sleep in our bed tonight. This is nuts.
Woohoo! 2 more miles to go. We made it! Woohoo! Wow, we made it! Congratulations to us! Woohoo! Good job, Coach Bob, all that driving.
That was
Ta-da!
Oh, you know what? I left something. We got to go back.
Nope. Maybe next year.
There we go.
Wowzer.
Whew. Hey, baby. Hey. Baby. Hey, baby. How you doing?
Hey, babies.
So what do you think there, Vic?
We're home. Look who I have. Mwah. We made it home. It was the most awesome ride ever.
So what do we do tomorrow?
We're going to Jacksonville so we can say we went from west to east. We're going to close the loop.
Yes, we are. Sea to shining sea.
And the weather was perfect on the way back. Last week it had forecast of rain. It didn't rain any. An adventure of a lifetime. We had a great, it's been a wonderful trip. We're home. I want to go rest, but now I don't want to go rest now that I'm home. But I'm going to later, but it's been a super, super, super trip. Thanks, Coach Bob, for all the hard work and driving.
Well, thanks, Coach Vic, for all the hard work and pillioning and hanging out and loving on me and just taking care of me.
Coach Bob will get the exact mileage later, but we made it. So how you feeling, Coach Bob?
I feel like $1,000,000.
Woohoo!